guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm Dr. Lynda Cramer. Today my NDE guest is none other than the amazing Claudia Watts-Edge. So as I read out her bio today, let's go and have a little look at her website and books that she has available. So here is her website, Claudia Edge. Now I'll just get rid of that little thing. So here is her website that we can have a look at while I read out her biography for you all. Claudia Watts-Edge had a profound NDE when she and her baby daughter died together in a sea of blood and pain. Her near-death experience was so difficult that she refused to talk about it for over 20 years, fearing ridicule and negative responses, and began her own quest to know and understand the mysteries of the other side. Her experiences continue to expand through her practice of lucid dreaming, visions, and visits to the place of in-between heaven and earth that she calls Spirit School, where patient teachers answers her questions through metaphors and parables. Claudia is compelled to share what she learns with the world through her gift of storytelling, her many award-winning books, as a popular international speaker. So here are her books on her website, and she's also had interviews with Irons, we all know that one, as well as some other beautiful people, including the amazing Reverend Bill McDonald, who I personally have also interviewed. So if we go over to Amazon, here are her, where have I put her books? Sorry to go there. Her books are here, there they are. So if you put her name into Amazon, like I have, Claudia Watts-Edge, all her books come up. We have We Touched Heaven, Gifts from the Edge, Volume 2, Lessons from the Edge. Now, as you can see, she's receiving a lot of good feedback for her books as well. So if you do wish to go over and observe those. So thank you so much for being patient with me this morning. Here comes Claudia with her story of what happened. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. And today, as I said, I've got the amazing Claudia. So thank you so much for being with me today, Claudia.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, honestly. We were talking earlier about, can you imagine what your life's turned into over these years? And it's like, no, I can't believe this, that I have something to say that somebody would like to hear. So I just give it up, and whatever comes out is what is supposed to happen today. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Claudia. You know, with your association with like Bill McDonald, you've got the association to IANS, International Association of Near-Death Experiences. You know, you've got so much connection all over the NDE platform that, of course, it's my honor to have you today. So I think the best thing that people want to hear is what happened. So please share your...
What got me to this point, right?
Yeah, what got you to this point, Claudia?
Yeah. Well, we were speaking earlier. I've always been just a little bit on the woo-woo side or whatever. I just kind of knew some things. I had no idea why I knew them, but it didn't grow until after my NDE, which was when I was 30 years old. I was about to give birth to my fifth baby, and I started to bleed. It wasn't even in the examination room. It was where I was changing into my gown. One moment I was just a healthy mother, 4 children, about to give birth to my fifth baby. And within moments I was in the grips of death, basically, and being told that I had 2 minutes left to live. What happened was my placenta, that organ between the mother and child, was collecting blood, but it wasn't leaving. And after it got so full, it exploded inside of my womb, and it left what they called living shrapnel, and I was bleeding out in just a couple of minutes. So there's a real big difference when you are scared of something, or, oh my goodness, I had a wreck, I almost died, or whatever, when someone's saying, you're dying, you've got 2 minutes. And all of my attention went to my unborn child. I asked for them to save her, and the only way they could do it in the time frame was to hold my arms and legs down and cut this baby out without any anesthesia or operating room or so much as a warm blanket or an aspirin. It was complete surgery in the raw. And she drowned in my blood. They pulled out a lifeless little body. Though I will share now, because sometimes I forget that they were able to revive her during my death. So it was quite a few miracles were happening that night. But I popped out of my body when I saw this little child that wasn't moving, and I had just had enough. The room was completely blood filled, and I found myself in a place of complete darkness. Now, when I say it took me almost 20 years to be able to say that out loud, because the first time that I said it, it was to an NDE researcher, and this is back in 1984. With things, Dr. Raymond Moody's book had just come out, and so because I was in the hospital when it happened and everything was documented, they thought I'd be a really great candidate for a great NDE story, because there are beautiful NDE stories, and you can go and be involved in the beautiful plants and trees and the life stream, and or just seeing grandma, or just all of the wonderful things that you can see through other people's NDEs. Mine was in darkness. It was perfect. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was real. It was intelligent. It was, I've heard people say, oh, you should just call it the void. But to me, the void means, empty of something, missing something. And to me, it was a vastness of intelligence. And I could have just stayed there forever. It was so perfect. I was cradled and loved in this place. And so when I was talking to the researcher about it, that negativity went across her face of, you were in darkness. And I hadn't even associated that could be negative, because the experience was so perfect. How could it be negative? And so it wasn't until I saw that look wash across her face that I thought, oh my goodness, what are my neighbors? What is the churches and my neighbors and my family and everybody going to say, that maybe I wasn't very good because I had gone into the darkness, So I pushed it down. I kept it to myself. It was sacred. It was mine. And I didn't talk about it. But boy, you can't keep these things down forever. I continued to research near-death experiences, and it has bubbled up into quite it's just taken over my life. My death took over my life. So what I learned, I'll just keep going unless you have anything to throw in here.
Keep going.
Is my need after 20 years, and it bubbled up, that I needed to talk about it, but I wasn't even sure. I kept looking for the same kind of NDE as mine. And it took me going to an IONS conference. It was in Arizona, and it's been, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago now, that I was sitting across a table at a luncheon from Dr. Eben Alexander, who had an amazing experience. And I won't tell of his experience, but definitely listen to his podcasts or read his books. But he had talked about, because he was a neurosurgeon and his father was a neurosurgeon, and he thought that he would see his father on the other side. Well, this was really a big deal to me, because I lost my father when I was 16. And that was one of the things, as I was laying there in that 2 minutes of light, life left, that I went through all of the, when you're given a diagnosis and it's going to end in your death, and you go through the anger and the 5 steps of acceptance. I had to go through those steps in a matter of a minute and a half. And when I got to the end of it, there was kind of an excitement that I was going to go see my dad. So also, as I was going through this, explaining about the darkness, I wondered how come I hadn't seen my dad. So when Dr. Alexander was talking about not seeing his father, it opened a gateway, and I give him total kudos for being so open with us and sharing his amazing experience.
Wow.
Because it opened mine as well. And I've been flooded ever since with what I call going to spirit school. And at night, my guide takes me to what I call it spirit school. I come back having learned a lesson in the form of a metaphor or a parable. It's and I got, where it was like, is it time to go to bed yet? You get excited. And what I would do is wake up and record everything, that it would come in a story form. So it was easy for me to retell and explain some of the really hard stuff of our big questions in this life. Why are we here? What is my mission? Do I have a mission? Is it important to have a mission? Am I just going to be a bug on the windshield and it's over? All of that, kind of stuff. And so, I mean, you and I our immediate affection for each other, we could sit here if we had hours. I would go through some of these, and I'm so sorry that there isn't time, but I will show some of my books. That my Lessons from the Edge is my second book. It took me 2 books before I would write about my near-death experience. That's how I just kind of alluded to it, because I still was pushing my personal experience back, but I would at least share my spirit school, and those lessons that I learned are amazing. And also, you mentioned Reverend Bill McDonald. Oh my goodness, love this man. He did the foreword for my book, and in this one, he wrote a story for my book, We Touched Heaven, which got a review from Dr. Raymond Moody. He called my book terrific. And if you don't think that's a full circle of reading his books, and then not suddenly, just the fact that the turnaround comes and he is writing a review for me, that's amazing to me. We Touched Heaven was a #1 release. It just won an international award. It's got 47 different contributors of near-death experiences or spiritual transformative experiences. Some are short, some are a little longer, but man, it is jam-packed full of every walk of life in all kinds of areas of the world. So from a marine biologist to a real estate agent to a teacher to just a mortician, just all kinds of different stories that has become very popular. And this last one is my Gifts from the Edge. It was my first one, delving into the pool, but boy, those experiences from spirit school, and talk about answering questions of why we're here, and is there such a thing as reincarnation, and all, they're full. I feel like I'm on speed, like trying to I want to get it all out for you here, but that it just keeps growing. I don't have as many experiences as I was, as far as like 3 or 4 nights a week. Now I just have something that I can add on, and I'm in the middle of a 4th book, so that's coming out soon. So,
well, darling, I've been sitting here writing questions down as you're talking.
Yay!
And I'll just show you. I've made a list while we were talking.
Oh, I love it.
I love
Let's
it too.
start.
Okay, so let's start. Let's go from the beginning, okay?
Okay.
Oh my gosh. First of all, the first question is, how is your daughter? Did she?
She's beautiful. She just turned 4. 40 years ago, last week.
Oh, oh my
So
gosh,
yeah,
and that in itself is the first blessing of the day, you
yeah,
know. Oh
yeah,
my God, thank God she was okay too.
yeah.
Now,
They
okay,
weren't sure for a while. They had to watch it. It was kind of like if she lives for an hour, if she lives for 3 hours,
yeah,
all it was pretty touch and go for a couple of weeks. And then if
and
she would be
yeah,
mentally okay, that she is great, beautiful.
my daughter, she was actually born 18 years ago, well, 17, nearly 18, but she was born at 26 weeks, and
Mm.
she had a lot of ICU issues. And a lot of people ask, when we have an NDE, does it increase our psychic ability?
Mm.
Now, as an NDE and as somebody who's also lost my child was unresponsive for a couple of days there in ICU off and on as well. And with your experience and your daughter, what's your thoughts on people who say NDE is more psychic than other people? Do you have anything to add there?
I would offer to the audience that we all have this capability. You don't have to die to get close and to God and have wonderful dreams and experiences.
No.
All you have to have is the intent, and it has to be verbalized. It has to be, it's you. If you're watching the show and you say, yeah, I want that. It took me 20 years of it. I hope it doesn't take anybody 20 years, but there has to be some fervent want there. And I would say watching these programs, being open, it's like I could say something that possibly doesn't fit in your belief system. I would say it's okay.
Yeah.
Examine, hold it up to the light. If it doesn't fit, I have a place where I call it's my mind shelf, and I can just sit back there. I don't have to totally throw it away. But if I'm not ready for it, like I wasn't ready to know about reincarnation for the
Yeah.
longest time. I don't know. It was one of the last things that was given. Now reincarnation is a focus point for me because I'm getting so much information and personal information of myself and my own past lives. It was like Claudia's not ready for this yet, and Claudia understood that. But
Yeah,
now she must be, because she's getting a lot of it. So
that's
so
right.
that, yeah, yeah.
Well, I love how you explain that, because as I know too, our psychic abilities are innate, natural. And, I've got a book, Psychic Explained, and in there you virtually said word for word. It's all about
Mm,
our intention of what we want. And all we have to do is give ourselves permission to do it. And generally we get it.
absolutely.
We give out because people don't believe that they're capable of doing something because
Mm.
this three world dimensional conditioning doesn't allow us to use it. So thank you for agreeing with what I virtually
Oh
said as well,
yeah,
darling.
yeah.
All right, so my next question relates to when you were actually dying. And for anyone who does have any sort of issues, triggers, or mental health because of this, please reach out to someone, obviously. But in that moment when you knew that you were going to die, and then you said, I popped out of my body.
Mhm.
Tell me, can you elaborate more on what happened when you popped out of your body?
As I was bleeding out, I was trying to calm myself by thinking that the blood was coming out. So if I calmed my heart, because remember, I've got my arms and legs are being held down by different nurses, and well, even the lady that was pushing a mop had to come and hold on because it hurt. It hurt a lot to have that baby cut out. But I tried to slow my heart rate down, just even a few extra beats, a little bit of life left. And as I was bleeding out, the walls became um, liquid and they started coming inward. And because I had read NDE stories, I thought, oh, this must be the tunnel. And so as it got tighter and tighter, I just somehow I just kind of flipped out from my head up and was looking down at, so it was the softest pop. it was air, like a little kid's toy, those little pop guns where they put a little tennis ball or something in there and pop. It was so soft and easy. you know I, no one can, the way that you die, yeah, I can agree that that can be a scary thing, but the actual act of death is so normal that it doesn't even register that, because I think we have done it so many times. It's just kind of like I was floating through the hospital before I even realized that I was floating. That was not usual. I had gone through a wall and I saw my husband filling out forms, because he's thinking everything's okay, because I've barely been in there for 4 to 5 minutes, from when he left me, to have all of this happen. Can you imagine him sitting there and it's like 5 minutes later, we're sorry, but your wife has passed away. And, I mean, it was that fast. So for those medical questions, when they say, well, they wouldn't do that, it's like, well, it was life and death and it was immediate. And I do not disparage that hospital or any of that help we got. They performed 2 miracles in a matter of just a few minutes and saved both of our lives. So,
Okay, you've just got me another question.
okay.
You went through the walls and you saw your husband.
Yes, yes. I saw the
See,
top of his head. He had his driver's license. They give you the clipboard with all the stuff. And so I could see the top of his head as he's looking down and comparing the
so
driver's
here
license.
comes another question. How high up were you when you were floating? Give an
Just,
estimate.
yeah, I would say, well, it was higher, maybe like chest high or something,
Yeah,
because when I was in the hospital, those old time clocks that stick out from the wall, it's
yeah,
just this, and it's hung from the side of the wall, not the ceiling, because I could look down on that clock, and clean, hospital clean. It wasn't, I'm not anything again disparaging, but you know how at the top of your cupboards, no matter how clean your kitchen is, that you get that sticky residue. I
yeah.
could I could see that sticky residue up there. And went, oh, that's kind of disgusting.
Okay, I just want to draw a similarity here
Okay.
because when I died and I found myself floating in the living room, I was actually just inches from the ceiling, and we had a
Uh,
ceiling fan, and I could see the dust on the top of the ceiling fan.
so you get it, yeah, boy, bird's eye view.
Yeah, because you're up near the ceiling looking down, and but
Yeah.
it's funny how I had no thought, geez, I've got to dust that when I get out of here.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
you don't, we
It
don't
was just
have because it's
it
not
was just
relevant.
an acceptance. It was just that you
Yes,
saw it. It wasn't that, because anything human, like my few moments with my husband was more, I felt bad that life was going to be harder for him. This went across my mind, and my children already had,
yeah,
but I knew it was the way it was supposed to be.
yeah.
I
All
had
right.
accepted
So,
that.
another
And
question. How
sure.
did your husband react when you said to him, "Oh, by the way, I saw you filling out the paperwork"?
I wish I had a good answer for that, but
Because
yeah,
they can't give an answer. There is no answer
yeah,
because
yeah. It's kind of like,
yeah,
I
I
mean, we're,
I had the sheriff come and see me in hospital after I woke up. And I said, "Oh, you're in a different uniform today than what you wore that night." And he said, "Well, how do you know that? Because I didn't go into where your body was." And I said,
yeah.
"Well, I saw the uniform that you had on it. You were popping out of it was a small uniform, and your belly was popping out, so where the buttons were." And I said, "You also had a limp. You were limping, and oh look, you're not limping today." And he
Oh
said,
my
"Oh my
goodness.
God,
Yeah,
how do you know that?" Because there
yeah.
is no answer because they can't justify what
Can't
we have
figure
done.
that out.
They can't justify it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
wow. Okay, so let's have a look at our next one. Okay, so as you said, when you're in the complete darkness, it was beautiful. and
It was
it was
beautiful.
intelligent.
It knew me
Oh,
intimately. It knew everything about me, and it loved me. There was no doubt of how special I was to it. I just wanted to wrap myself within it.
yeah.
And people have asked me, is it so dark? Could you see your hand? Did you have a body in there? And it's like, I have no idea, because I couldn't see anything.
Well,
In fact, I'll share that I missed it so much after coming home. It took me a long time to leave the hospital. It took me a long time to get better. But I would crawl in the corner and I would take my bedding off and turn out all the lights and put the bedding over my head and try to recreate that
mm.
dark.
And I think that's something common with a lot of
Sorry, it
NDEs.
makes me cry. It makes me need
Yeah,
to.
it does, and it makes me cry too, darling. There's another NDE because I was sitting at the front of my house because it took me a long time to start walking again because I was in a coma, and I would sit there and I would close my eyes and just say, "Please take me back, please take me back." I missed it. I missed it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what a lot of NDEs say when they come back here. It's like, oh heck, I'm here again. Damn, I want to go back
Yeah,
there. You know. So
like
so
um,
when we,
what's Betty Eady? You've heard of her, the Embraced by the Light,
yes,
in the 70s. She went home. She was trying to recreate the colors that are not here on Earth, but she couldn't. Everything was so drab here in her
yeah,
estimation. She was taking paints and every wall was a different color, and
yeah,
she was trying to surround herself in that because she missed that part of it so
that's
much.
right. Because of, like I
Yeah,
saw the colors there, and people say, "What are the colors?" and you just can't explain it because
yeah,
we
yeah.
only see 5% of the color spectrum here, so we can't explain a color that's so different to purple. We can't
Hmm.
explain it because
Yeah,
we've got
yeah,
nothing to compare it to, you know.
exactly.
Okay,
Um,
so
I want to jump in on just on that,
yeah,
is the fact that because I was getting all of these stories, these parables and whatnot, because I've been asked, why didn't they just give you the answers? Why didn't they just send you back with this information? And it's like I get pieces, and I consider it
yes.
like our conversation is another piece in the puzzle of our connection.
Oh,
And
so
we are building a foundation,
yes.
so that others can understand, even myself, I say others, but I mean all of us. It'd blow our minds if we got everything all at the same
So,
time.
so let's just tag where we are in this video at
Okay.
this point, okay?
Yeah.
Because there's a profound thing that you just said that I firmly believe too. What if each individual NDE only got one little fragment of information
Mm-hmm.
whereby we must collectively join those dots like a jigsaw puzzle together?
Mm-hmm.
So the more we talk about it and the more we work it out, unity becomes the consciousness of what we truly are. So, that's why I believe no one gets all the infinite answers because it's infinite. No one gets the infinite answers that we all want to ask. Why didn't this happen? Why,
Yes.
why, why, why? But
Yeah.
ultimately, if we just research it and keep trying to find all those little pieces, those commonalities, the frequencies of, the frequent occurrences of what happens in those frequencies of energy, then
Yes.
we sort of can piece it together on what's going on. And I believe too, that's why no one does get all the answers. Because as far as I'm
Exactly.
concerned, there was only,
Because we need each other, and
that's exactly right.
every time we connect, someone gave an analogy that it was like another thread as we're weaving this perfect tapestry of each
Yes,
other and our
that's
knowledge. Everything
that's
that it's like it's
exactly right.
another
Oh,
perfect
that's
thread.
it. Because, it's that connection, you know,
Hmm.
and we look at the people who didn't need the connection, and we know them as people like Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad. And they, to me, they're the ascended masters. They weren't humanoid like we are. So we don't
Right.
get that information like they do because it's too much information. So they give you a fragment, they give me a fragment, they give Raymond Moody a fragment, they give Eben Alexander a fragment. You know, Betty Eddy, she gets a little fragment as well. So we all can put it together through that
I'm
connect.
so excited. I'm so honored to be in that group of people when they go, and Claudia Edge got a little fragment too. It's like, yes.
I feel about it because,
Yeah.
you know, when we look at who we were before our NDEs, you know, if someone said to me, oh, by the way, next week you're going to die, and then you're going to have this event that you talk about in 20 years' time,
Mm,
I would have just shrugged it off and said, no way, you're a freak. And then it puts it into perspective as to why I was called the freak when I was a kid.
mm,
Why people
mm.
constantly called me the freak, the witch, the idiot, you know?
Wow. Wow.
Down goes my self-esteem, goes down my own self-love, self-worth, etc. You know, and all those self-doubts that you were talking
Mm.
about, self-doubts, you know,
Oh
when you
yeah.
were talking
Yeah.
about
Am I
being
not good enough? Or
right,
why did
yeah,
everyone else get a great NDE and why was mine this? I can say now to anyone who's questioning that my memories and that are, have come back. I think I was not either ready, with so many children and responsibilities. I don't know the reason, but
yeah,
I know that it was veiled from me, and I've been so grateful to get the pieces back now. It's taken a long
absolutely,
time.
darling. Wow. So now the biggest question of the day that a lot of people ask me as a medium, why didn't you see your dad? Why doesn't he
I
come through and see us? What's your answer to those people who want to see their fathers, who want to see their best friend or their mothers or their grandmothers, who have that need because of their own ego? What do
mhm.
you say to those people?
I know why I didn't understand it at first, but I understand now that because I would have never left him. It had been 15 years, and it's still hard to talk about 54 whatever years later since he's passed. I was 16. He was my daddy. I was daddy's girl. And if I'd had a chance to climb up in his lap on the other side, believe me, there's no way they would have been able to get me to come back. So you were given, they're all different. That's another question that comes up. How come yours was different than hers, and how come they
Yeah,
saw? And I think we're given what we need, to do that, just that little extra little push, little,
yeah,
a nudge, so to speak, because we're all here on our own personal journey of free will. We have an idea contract of what we want to do, but it's not necessarily this huge endeavor or mission or whatnot. We could be here just holding the light on the particular street that you live in
yeah.
right now, that this town, this spot in the world needs you there, connecting with each other, listening to these type of podcasts, reading the books, opening your mind and finding each other. That's your purpose,
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. You know, people ask me, why the hell was it? You know, the person who I spoke to was my great, 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 great grandmother.
Wow, wow.
Why her?
Yeah,
Because as you just said, it's it's not about our ego and who we want to see. It's
mhm.
who is designated to be that push to make us keep going in the living. That's what I
That ancestor representative,
that's
because
exactly
we
right.
are we are our ancestors. They're all behind us. They're like,
Yeah.
they're cheering us on, man. They're excited for us. We're making headway in this world,
Oh
just be,
yeah. Yes. Oh,
I know that I have a cheering section, I feel them.
yeah.
So that's awesome.
So let's now go back over to your spirit school.
Okay.
And let's
Okay.
put some more concentration on your books and what's the content of your books. Because you
Okay.
know, when we write a book, there's always a purpose why we write a book, and we've always got that that message that we want to get across. So with regards to your spirit school, and you know, I call them like download nights, which other people may agree with that as well. But with your spirit school, Explain more about what happens there, so people, if they want to start doing this too, they may be able
Yeah.
to say, yes, bring it on for me as well. So
Yes.
there you go. I'll let you take the floor again, darling, so you can talk about
Y-
what you do.
at the dreams that we have, there are so important. I I think every one of them are important, though some of them seem to be, I've named them sand dreams, where the minute that you wake up, they just kind of, flit away, just fog. But there are some that stick with you. And I really advocate to have a journal by your bed and try to even write just one or two words down, even in the dark, laying down. That it doesn't have to be perfect. Just scratch a few words out so that you can recall it in the morning or in the bathroom or whatever, that you can recall this dream. But I had a dream. It was just a regular dream, but there was something that was within the dream, and I just call it kind of a screen or just something on the side of where I was viewing. And it turned out that it was my spirit guide. But what he was doing to get my attention, either to not give me fear or whatever, because it was kind of like, what, I'm here, here, here. What is that over there? Until I finally was able to bring my attention, which is how he was teaching me to become lucid within my dreams. And I would see him, and he would wear a different costume every time he came. He was the Texaco man. He was Mrs. Doubtfire. He dressed up he's hilarious, and he loves being funny. And that night, the very first time I noticed him, he was in a pink fairy costume, that he had a hairy back with and a short cigar in his mouth, and he had a wand, and he was just and he would touch his wand to this billboard that he was holding up, a plaque type thing, and he would say, come with me, or pay attention to this, and he would hit it with this little wand. But when he turned and I saw that hairy back, and it was just crazy. It was bringing me along without any kind of fear, because we talked about growing up and seeing things and whatnot. When you have a little bit of this psychic ability, fear was a big thing in my life. It's like my mom sat in my room at the end of my bed for me to go to sleep many a night. So when you're asking for this, there's a lot of stuff that comes with it
Yeah.
that's not fun. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I say to people is, when you start learning a new gift, like a psychic ability, don't ask for the tsunami. You've
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
learn,
Little.
when we learn to surf, we don't go out on that tsunami. So you've got to learn your balance, and you've got to, stand on the surfboard in the shallows before you go
Yeah.
out the big wave. But
Get your
so,
balance.
and that's exactly what you're talking about there. So of course you bring in this guy that looks like a fairy with his little
Yeah.
magic wand, because that instills that, it takes away that fear, and it still instills that
Mhm.
trust, because we all want
Yes.
to trust our fairies, especially our
Yes.
fairy godmothers.
Our fairy godmother, even though he was hairy.
He sort of reminds me of the Rock in Tooth Fairy, that movie Tooth
Exactly.
Fairy. Maybe you inspired
Yeah.
that movie through your conscious out there, where people thought,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm going to do a big guy wearing a tutu." You know, how do we
And
know?
so, if you know, uh, I wanted to mention, getting a relationship. So I'm backpedaling here, but trying to establish a relationship with your guide, and they have to be invited. They're not to interfere. Angels don't just suddenly appear. We have to go. I really want to have a relationship with you. And I used to
Yes.
drive and sell. I was a outside salesman for an optical company, and I did a lot of windshield time. I was driving all the time. And I would just, I used to call my friend in the passenger seat. There was nobody there, but I would talk to, I'm sure sounds weird, but at the same time, I would share things and be like, okay, oh, wow, did that lady almost hit us? Can you believe it, or whatever? I just knew that I had somebody there.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I just want to be friends with them. And so I started a relationship. And then when I would pray, I was, taught to say prayers at night and, get on your knees and whatnot. But I had a really hard time with it because I don't like that language of thee and thou and shalt and all
Yeah.
of those things that are not in my modern vernacular. And I feel like it was holding me back from a relationship with God. And when I tossed all that out the window and just started talking to God or my guide or Jesus or anyone as a friend and just what I needed to say in my language, they know what I'm saying.
Oh,
I don't need to speak in their language.
that's
You
exactly
know,
right. Because they
yeah,
know us so intimately. They knew us
yeah,
before our birth. They'd know us after our next death. Next
yeah.
death.
The next step, yeah.
And we die again. If it's permanent, well, maybe it will be or maybe it won't be. But they know us so intimately, as you said. There's no
Yeah,
pretense required. We don't have to sit on our knees and say, are you with me, my heavenly guide?
yeah.
I have this lady I talk to, and she talks back. I've seen her a few times in my life, but I just call her you. Hey, are you on? And I actually do the, are you on today? Because she
Wow.
knows my sense of humor. Because we've got to still be human with this. We can't, you know,
We're
even
here to
though
be human. This is our ride.
this is
Yeah.
our ride, and they understand they know all about our limitations. They
Mhm.
know all about our self doubts and issues that can arise as this blubbering wreck of DNA. They know that we stress. They know that we don't get on with ourselves at the best part. But they try and just give us that little nudge. And it's whether we listen to those nudges and it's whether
Mhm.
we hear the nudges. And then if we trust the nudges to enforce those nudges.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is what I try to teach. And that's why I love talking to people like yourself, Claudia,
Mm.
because the more trust that we have in what is out there, and the more that we release this three-dimensional world and we allow our angels and other entities to look after us, protect us, and to love us,
Mm.
the
Mm.
more that woo-woo, that magic, or whatever you want to call it, karma comes into our existence.
Yeah.
Wow. So, in closing, is there anything else? I'm going to put all your books in the description
Okay.
below. So, if
Okay.
anyone wants a copy, they know where to find them. Okay. So, is there anything else in closing that
Yes.
you'd like to add today?
Yes. You were just talking about the world, and I have two little grandchildren that live with me at the time being. In fact, it's my daughter that we've talked about. She's saving for a home, and so they've taken a few rooms in the house, and so I'm blessed to have my little grandchildren with me. And at the beginning of the summer, we did an experiment. I saw it on YouTube or something, and it's called the rice experiment. I don't know if you've ever heard of it,
No, I
but
haven't.
it is similar to, and now I've lost the gentleman's name that did the water experiment where
Oh,
you
Emoto Masuru.
yes, yes. And what certain words and things did to the water was actual. And
Yes.
so someone took this in a different direction with rice. And
Yes.
so we worked on this together. I took 3 mason jars and boiled them as if I was canning peaches or anything. Everything was very, very clean, untouched. And I put it right, and we labeled 3 bottles
Oh, look, you've even got them with you.
with their
Hate,
little
love.
handwriting. And this one is ignore. This one we didn't talk to. We um we just kind of put the rice in there. It didn't even get a name. We just went, nope, no talking to this one, and we put it aside.
Yep.
Hey, I let them, I gave them permission. They're 8 and they're learning swear words and that at school. And so, and from their grandpa. And so I said, for 1 minute, I want you to say every mean thing you can think of, that it's ugly or you don't like the taste of it or whatever it is.
Yep.
And they thought I was weird, but they also kind of loved having that time talking me into that bottle. And
Yeah.
then the last one is love. So I'll show you our ignore now. This was May, so we're into like the 9th month.
Yeah.
This happened within 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
I've kept because I can't believe what is happening.
Yeah.
This is the
So
ignore
that's
bottle.
ignore. Oh my gosh.
The rice, it's turned to a black liquid growing up the sides. I mean, I don't ever want to open the bottle,
No,
but
you
what
don't know what will
happened,
come out of that.
ignore was the worst. Now hate has caught up to it, but at first ignore was worse than being hated. At
Wow.
least still some rice in the hate.
Yeah.
But look, after 9 months under the title of love. That
Claudia.
amazing? Is that amazing? It's liquefying a little bit, but it's white. It's
Wow.
so, and we talked to it. We told it was pretty, that we loved the taste of it, and we just made it feel
Wow.
special. And then we sealed it up, and we've had it in the cupboard for 9 months.
Oh
And so
my gosh.
I
Look at
can't throw it
that.
away.
But you
This is
can't make
what,
this stuff up. We can't.
no,
So
this,
anyone out there, look at what Claudia did. She's got 3
yeah,
mason jars. You put the exact thing in all 3. You label them at the top. Ignore, hate, and love. And you love the one that you say, love. I love you. I love you. You're beautiful. You're kind. You're gorgeous. I love you. The one that you hate, get the people to just. It's a good way to vent. And I found
yeah,
that too. Now, I do know
yeah.
the rice experiment. Sorry if I was a bit ignorant when you first said
Okay.
it. But as soon as you said the water, I knew Emoto Masuru.
Yeah,
So I'm going to do that myself
I
because
love it.
I know it works. And look at
I
that.
wish
You
they would
just,
do it in the schools. My grandchildren are too embarrassed. They're like, "Oh, grandma, we don't want to take it to school." But I'm like,
yeah.
if
Well,
we all could see what our intentions do,
absolutely.
you
And our
know?
thoughts are our intentions. Our
Yes.
thoughts are the manifestation of what we desire. Okay.
Mm,
So they're our, if I want to send someone, oh, look at that idiot going through the red light. So we send him that intention of harm, because we're
mm,
calling him an idiot. Then you've
yeah.
got the intention of love that you send to your mum when she's not well. So
Hmm.
it's our intention, which is our thoughts. So the more we use our thoughts, our thoughts are so valuable. You
Hmm.
know, I really try so hard to reword every sentence I say in the day now. You
Hmm.
know, yeah. So wow, I'm so grateful that you showed that because that is
Mm.
amazing what
That
you've done.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I'm happy to put that in the tag at the bottom with the rice experiment. Oh my God, Claudia, I could seriously talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
You're an amazing person. You've had some amazing experiences. I can imagine what your home life is like with the loving energy that you are producing because I can feel it through the screen. And I want to say it again. Today I feel so humbled to have you as my guest because to me, you're NDE royalty because you're so far known
Mm.
with all the NDE networks out there. So it's been my absolute pleasure today to have you as my guest. So, on behalf of all my viewers, I truly thank you so much for being here today.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you. We all need that little pat in the back every now and again.
Yeah,
And I was about to say goodbye, but I'm gonna show you something I printed off the other day. Is it
sure.
backwards? Can you see it? Is
Yes.
it? Yes. Um, no matter where we are, what station we are in life, you're enough. Just be you. Just, love yourself. Love yourself first. So thank you for, it took us a minute to get together, but this won't be the last. I know. I
Oh,
I send
sweetie.
you so much love and affection.
And I send it all back to you tenfold as well because, I don't do what I do for me. I take my ego out and, I see gorgeous people doing amazing things and I want to talk to them. So to share
Thank
your stories with other people. So thank you so much again for
you.
being my guest.
Thank you. And audience, thank you. Take care of yourselves. You're loved.
We
You're
truly
loved.
are. All right. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so
Okay.
much for watching.
Okay. Love ya. Bye-bye.